Shalom and good day all. This is Tehillim29 back again for another indie comic review. And as you can see here, I have Kingspawn issues 19 and 20. So starting off with first things first, do these covers in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside with the story? Sure enough they do. But one thing else is that I really quite like the cover for issue 19 as it reminds me of, to those who have read some Shakespeare, or also know of any Shakespeare, it looks like a scene from Hamlet, just the way it's done. Really nice. To which I gave the first cover an 8 out of 10. Moving into the second cover, which is issue 20, I gave a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move into the internal art, which we'll have a look at the internal art as well as what's happening story-wise. So I'll get things organized with issue 19 and then move on to issue 20. So as the story begins, we have a bit of a situation come up. In the world of the Spawn universe, we also learn that this is actually taking place in New York City. We, of course, see it's taking time around the holidays until, of course, we have a situation to where we get a green-haired person. That's right, someone with green hair. That's actually doing a delivery for what we learn is a particular foundation. So as the story advances, we end up catching up with Sam and Twitch, which is really nice to see these characters. And that reminds me, I do actually have some trade paperbacks written by Brian Michael Bendis that cover the characters of Sam and Twitch, and I'm gonna have to try to get around to reviewing those trades on the channel. So I must admit, at first I didn't quite recognize that these characters were Sam and Twitch until I noticed a little bit later in the story. And of course they hear of the scene and they go investigate the scene, whilst there's sort of like still time to investigate the scene in the winter. And last but not least, Spawn finally finds out about this as well. So not only Sam and Twitch, but also Spawn himself have learnt that there's sort of like a black market organ operation or organ theft operation that's happening, and it's really nice to see this. So I'll leave it there for issue 19 and start to move into issue 20. So as we begin to move into issue 20, we finally get the name of the organization which is being involved in this black market operation of organs, brains, etc. And of course, Spawn makes his appearance, and we still get to see a little bit more with what's happening with the character of Terry, and also Sam and Twitch on this operation. We get a little bit more of what's happening in the story. So things with this so far, we end up getting Spawn coming back in and in his own way trying to help with what's happening with the problem, but also making a mess of everything else. Sam and Twitch still doing what they're doing. And last but not least, Terry also getting involved in the situation, in other words, to try to help out with the situation at Spawn's request. For the internal art, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the story. To those who have been following my channel, I like to cover 4 specific areas in relation to storytelling. Now, if it's, say, an early series, at the early part of the series, or depending on which series it is, some series are like connected to a universe where other series aren't connected to a universe. But if they are connected to a universe, say for example, like King Spawn here is connected to the Spawn universe, I also like to ask for comic references, because if there's any particular comic references that might link to maybe Gunslinger Spawn, for example, that it gives a comic reference to it, or even one of the other Spawn titles, or even the main Spawn line itself, providing it provides that issue reference just to show where it takes place in the continuity, it makes a lot of sense as to what's happening with the story. So did we get any comic references in these two issues? No, we didn't, but did that affect the rest of the story? Let's move into the next area, and that is the area of time. Time is great because sometimes it's nice to know when events are taking place, sort of like in the present story. And we do get that in somewhat both of these, but mainly mainly issue 19/20, to which we get in issue 19. We had 13 minutes later, hours after, and I think it was earlier. That's how it was sort of brought across. It would be nice if it addressed it sort of like, if you've got detectives on the case, detectives are going to need to record time down, sort of like time that they're at a location. Say, even if it's, say, at 12:30 a.m. in the morning, or 10 a.m. in the morning, or even in the afternoon. That would be a little bit better, but for what it is in the story right now, it's okay. Next is the area of locations, because locations show us whereabouts these characters are going. And this is also important to storytelling. As with storytelling, locations can be just as much as a character than a character in the location. So, for example, in regards to this, we had the locations of New York City, the Exodus Foundation in Midtown, and the New York City Police Department precinct. And that took place over issues 19 and 20. Moving into the cast of characters, just in pretty much how we got to see him throughout the story. We had Mr. Merryville. We also had Sam and Twitch make their appearance. There was a couple of other detectives, yet I think there was one, but I didn't manage to grab their name. We also had Spawn, Terry. We also got to see a picture of Cyan make an appearance. And also, I think it's Bakerman. I might have written that wrongly because of how terrible my writing can be sometimes. But overall, for the story rating, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.